Hello everybody, Mr. Pace. Woodman Hills Filing 11 candidate. I know, you guys are waiting me to say something and now I can say this. Let's talk about something right here. Mr. Howell has opened his mouth one too many times in this community, and because he was a warrant officer in the Army, he thought he could get away with it because you would think of him as this upstanding individual, when in reality it's not true. None of it is. Mr. Howell thinks about as much as you as a fart. Okay? That's just simple truth. And you can't clean up the swamp without getting your hands dirty and crawling into the muck. Okay? So let me help everybody with something. I was accused of doing all kinds of things wrong, and later on, other judges in other venues found out I wasn't. So here's something a lot of people don't understand. You remember the recall that failed against Jan Pizzi, the second one, where Wayne Williams, part of the cabal and the group that is the swamp in El Paso County, was not allowed to touch those 200 words. In a case that you didn't know about, was adjudicated later on by a friend of mine, okay? It was found that he should have never touched those 200 words because they're not touchable. Now, as far as the other stuff is, as far as making misleading statements or comments or anything, I agree with the fact that you can only go by the information that you have at hand to make the best decision possible. Woodman Hills shut down Cora. Woodman Hills shut down everything. And a lot of people don't understand is that I'm still here. And you ever ask yourself why? If all the allegations made by Micah Howell were true, I should be doing about 10 to 20 up in Lyman. But they weren't. See, because Micah Howell was part of the problem. He supported the developer in his attack of taking my home. He supported Jan Pizzi in the same thing. He supported all these people that were out to get me, but they didn't get anything. Maybe my money and my retirement, but it's money. I'll go out and make some more. Talks about Mr. Howell's doing all these things about being in the military 22 years and all that. I was in the military. I got injured out. Shit happens. A lot of our best guys didn't do all the time, okay? Some were lucky, some weren't. Talks about how he's been on the HOA board of directors for all these years. Let me help you with something. Micah Howell broke the law. Yeah, he did. Because he took away your right to vote. There was no HOA when he was on the board. He was on the board when they converted it to an HOA. And under the rules, under all the rules, and under the four corners of the contract that everybody got when they bought a home in filing 11, a vote was required not only by law, but by the covenants. And that vote never took place. Yet Mr. Howell took your rights away, and you think he's just peachy keen. What does that say about the people that voted for Mr. Howell? Really don't have to say much about that, do I? So let's go over this. Howell is an experienced board member. Yeah, you basically took away the rights of 853 homeowners to vote on making it an HOA. Yeah, so you're a thief. We got that covered. Howell represents the best interest of this community. No, he actually doesn't. He's made statements that are recorded that what he thinks of this community is if you're not governed by an HOA, that you're all going to let this place turn to shit. That's a fact. Him and his wife think you're going to let this place turn into a trailer park. Mr. Pace has said otherwise on more than one occasion. Fact. Howell wants to improve property values. No, he doesn't. And how can he do that? How can him sitting on a board with no evidence whatsoever to base that statement on? It's already been proven there is not a single study that's ever been done, especially here, that having them do what they're doing improves your property value. Because it's false. It's a false narrative, and you folks believe it. Why don't you just listen to someone telling the truth? You know what improves property values? A great economy. Fact. All right, Pace has no record of board experience. This is, by the way, one of his previous flyers. I kept this puppy. And I actually do have experience with board staff and watching boards and observing boards and how they do things on the willy-nilly and don't follow the law. They also don't follow Kiowa. Heck, they haven't even followed the covenants yet, but they want to tell you that I don't know what I'm doing. And I'd be wrong about that. Pace rallied residents to sue the HOA. Yes, I did, because you're not an HOA. You're a DRC, and now that I have the evidence Not just someone's discussion. I have the evidence. Can't wait for your comment on that. I also can't wait for another flyer. I want to see this. He says it's, quote, the stupidest effing thing I've ever heard of. No, it's not what I said. See, the problem is they take a comment out of context and they put it in a narrow thing. I'm the one who fought to get the people's rights to vote here. I fought for their rights to vote. I wanted to make sure that we had open and transparent elections. Everybody that knows me knows that when Mr. Howell makes a false statement like that, you just want to call him out in a meeting. But he doesn't want that. I know that. Mr. Howell, you've been recorded saying some things to friends of mine, haven't you? Well, that's going to come back to haunt you now, right? Because you were part of the cabal to get Ron. You even said that my wife had the right to lose her share of this property. That's what you said, my wife, who's done nothing to anybody. Nothing. But your wife basically walked into a room and said the same thing about the 853 homeowners, that if we didn't have an HOA, that it would turn into a trailer park. No. That's what you and your wife think of the people here. I think a little bit more of the people here. And I was the one that was screaming and bitching the most about an election. That's why you guys created the illegal HOA. And why I said, yes, I think everybody here should sue the HOA to get rid of them because you didn't do it legally. And I brought the proof and the truth. You didn't. Howell wants you to live in fear. He has sued counselors, residents as a board member. I don't have the number. He has sent out letters of admonishment to thousands of you because you don't want to live by his rules and the rules here. And then he wants to tell you how to live your life. Now, Ron Pace, I want you to have your freedom. I want you to have the right to vote. I want you to have a right to raise your kids the way you want. Less government interference, less intrusion, and that's it. Pretty simple. I just said it. That's Ron. That's always been Mr. Pace. The rest of this, joke. Don't worry about the flyers coming out, folks. Ask me. The reason I'm going after the HOA is because I've asked them very, 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 very politely and recorded for documents they can't produce, they don't have, and they will not give me because they know what I'm doing. I've had the HOA management company actually accuse me of making threats, criminal threats, that I have on a recording that I made the day I went in there to look at the records. The board didn't fire the management company because they don't care. Mattson doesn't care, LaCroix doesn't care, Mr. Carton doesn't care, Wood don't care, and Tamara Moore don't care. You know why? Because they didn't take my word. They want me to back up what I say because they have no trust in any adult making a normally factual statement to them. I do. Because if someone comes to me, like I said, hiring Dorman was the biggest mistake this HOA ever made. And it's not an HOA, but we have to call it what it is because in name in the legal document that they filed, they are an HOA nonprofit organization with just the name of an HOA. Aren't you tired of receiving letters of admonishment? Aren't you sick of being sued? I won't do that. I don't think suing one of your residents improves any property value whatsoever. And while he was on the board, a slew of individuals were sued. Slew. Lots. He doesn't want you to know that. He was on the board. I wouldn't have. That's a big difference. Integrity, honesty. Oh, by the way, Mr. Howell, remember that lawsuit that you were talking about, how I screwed the pooch and screwed my bank and did all these things? Can you tell me what happened with that case, Come on, Mr. Howell, tell me. You're so great at slamming me under a bus, but when the truth comes out, it comes out. Or what happened to your criminal allegation against me, huh? What happened to that puppy? You were gloating. Gary Reimers didn't have the balls to fire you when he should have, because it's in the bylaws. Yeah, you came to gloat over my loss like days afterwards, and what happened? I gave you a ration of shit because you were standing in front of my house harassing my children and my family. When's the last time I came to your house and did that? Let's see. Never. I don't care about you. I just care about the fact that you want to sue and screw more people in this community than I ever will, and you talked about lawsuits. Just for the record, Mr. Howell, that lawsuit was dismissed with prejudice. By the way, U.S. Bank did an internal investigation over the allegations made by your friends. And they can tell you, without a doubt, if you ever want to call them on the phone, I'll let them release the information. I was cleared. Because if the bank thought I did something wrong, they would have came in next. I was cleared. Right? But your opinion of everybody here is, we're all just scummy individuals that will let this place turn into a trailer park. Just remember that. You said it, and trust me, it's memorialized. I'm Mr. Pace. Voting for him is the worst mistake of your life. Don't. Okay? It's already hard enough that I'm going to be fighting an election where the outcome has to do with everything here in this filing. The HOA should have never been in existence, and Mr. Howell doesn't give two shits about your rights. And that's a fact, because actions speak louder than words. I'm Mr. Pace. Don't forget to vote.